Yehovah, please fill me with the Ruach HaKodesh, that I may speak your written words with boldness to those who listen. I ask all these things in Yeshua HaMashiach's name, amen. We'll start with the Shema. Listen and obey. Children of Yehovah, pay careful attention and respond. Yehovah is our power and authority. Yehovah works in unity with himself, and you shall act upon your love to Yehovah with your power and authority, with your thoughts in mind, with your entire body, and with all the muchness that you have. Yod, Hey, Vav, Hey. Hand, behold. Nail, behold. Exodus chapter 22. If a thief caught in the act of breaking in is beaten to death, it is not murder, unless it happens after sunrise, in which case it is murder. A thief must make restitution. So if he has nothing, he himself is to be sold to make good the loss from the thief. If what he stole is found alive in his possession, he is to pay double, no matter whether if an ox, a donkey, or a sheep. If a person causes a field or vineyard to be grazed over, or lets his animal loose to graze in someone else's field, he is to make restitution from the best produce of his own field and vineyard. If a fire is started and spreads to thorns so that stacked grain strands grain and a field is destroyed, the person who lit it must make restitution. If a person entrusts a neighbor with money or goods, or they are stolen from the trustee's house, then, if the thief is found, he must pay double. But if the thief is not found, then the trustee must state before God that he has not taken the person's goods himself. In every case of dispute over ownership, whether an ox, donkey, sheep, clothing, or any missing property, where one person says, "This is mine," both parties are to come before God, and the one whom God condemns must pay the other one double. If a person trusts his neighbor to look after a donkey, ox, sheep, or an animal, and it dies, is injured, or driven away unseen, then the neighbor's oath before Yehovah that has not taken the goods will settle the matter between them. The owner is to accept it without the neighbor's making restitution. But if it was stolen from the neighbor, he must make restitution to the owner. If it was torn to pieces by an animal, the neighbor must bring it as evidence, and then he doesn't need to make good the loss. If someone borrows something from his neighbor and it gets injured or dies with the owner not present, he must make restitution. If the owner was present, he need not make good on the loss, if the owner hired it out and the loss is recovered by the hiring fee. If a man seduces a virgin who is not engaged to be married and sleeps with her, he must pay the bride price for her to be his wife. But if her father refuses to give her to him, he must pay a sum equivalent to the bride price for virgins. You are not to permit a sorceress to live. Whoever has sexual relations with an animal must be put to death. Anyone who sacrifices to any god other than Yehovah alone is to be completely destroyed. You must neither wrong nor oppress a foreigner living among you, for you yourselves were foreigners in the land of Egypt. You are not to abuse any widow or orphan. If you do abuse them in any way and they cry out to me, I will certainly heed their cry. My anger will burn, and I will kill you with the sword. Your own wives will be widows, and your own children fatherless. If you loan money to one of the people who is poor, you are not to deal with him as would a creditor, and you are not to charge him interest. If you take your neighbor's coat as collateral, you are to restore to him by sundown, because it is his only garment. He needs it to wrap his body. What else does he have to sleep with? Moreover, if he cries out to me, I will listen, because I am compassionate. You are not to curse God, and you are not to curse a leader of your people. You are not to delay offering from your harvest grain, olive oil, or wine. The firstborn of your sons are to be given to me. You are to do the same with your oxen, your sheep, is to stay with the mother 7 days, and the 8th day you are to give it to me. You are to be my especially separated people. Therefore, you are not to eat any flesh torn by wild animals in the countryside. Rather, throw it out for the dogs. How can we love others as Yeshua loves us? How can we love our Creator after reading Exodus 22? Well, let me turn to the page. We can know that strict rulings were set in place to have order. Know that consideration for someone else's property is a big deal. Know that payment for goods and property needs to be fair and reasonable. Know that restitution is to be paid when entrusted with property and is taken from you. Know that there is value in a woman's virginity. Flee from all types of sorcery, aka pharmakia. Know that sex must remain with only human to human, male to female, husband and wife. Obey Yehovah. Be kind to a foreigner, widow, orphan. Cry out to Yehovah when in trouble. Deal fairly with your neighbor. Bless Yehovah. Bless your leaders. Aim to be a separate people for Yehovah, holy to Yehovah. How can we love others as Yeshua loves us? We can be considerate, kind, fair with your neighbors. Bear one another's burdens. We can be trustworthy and honest. Produce spiritual fruit, love, joy, peace, patience, kindness, goodness, faithfulness, humility, self-control. End with the Aaronic blessing. Yehovah will kneel before you presenting gifts, and he will guard you with a hedge of protection. Yehovah will illuminate the wholeness of his being towards you, bringing order, and he will provide for you love, sustenance, and friendship. Yehovah will lift up the wholeness of his being and look upon you and will set in place all you need to be whole and complete.